So me and my roommate have been getting really into ORION Dino Horde since we discovered it last weekend. There's this weapon in it, the Trek Longbow, which as you can see, looks awesome. And it's one of the more expensive items in the game. And so naturally we were pretty excited to finally survive long enough to be able to afford this thing of beauty. So then we buy it, and this is the sound it makes. But I thought, hey, I'm a sound designer. Why don't I just take matters into my own hands, make a badass new firing sound? And I'm going to give you a bit of a walkthrough through the different layers and the sounds. So the first thing I did was drag the video file from the YouTube preview of the Trek Longbow, because I wanted to be able to look at something while I'm designing the sound. And then I quickly synced up the current noises with the video. I extracted these from the game files. And then, just a matter of rolling up my sleeves and getting to work. The first thing I did was not the draw, change. I did the change tip. And that's made out of a clicking noise for taking the tip off, and another clicking noise for the first point of contact when he touches the tip to the shaft. And that's right here. And then a second click for when it actually snaps in, and then another layer for the snapping in noise. That's lifted from the original samples. And then I added, so my concept for this was that it's like an electric bow. And so when you snap it on, it gets ready and it charges up. So I synthesized this charge noise, which kind of sounds like a disposable camera when it charges up its capacitor, but it's getting ready to discharge powerfully and fire the thing. And to that end, I also added in this zap layer, or kind of an electric crackling noise. So altogether, that sounds and looks like this, which I'm pretty happy with. The next thing I did was the firing, because that's really what we're here to see. And that's really what prompted me to start this project in the first place, was that the firing sound was so weak. So I experimented a lot with the firing sound. It was initially just like standard bow noises. I played with thrum, and I wasn't really happy with it, and I needed a concept that made it sound a little more futuristic, rather than just a straight up bow, which is what I was getting. And I realized that my real problem was that I was using these physical modeling synthesizers to make a realistic string noise, when a long bow string is plucked. It kind of makes this low, powerful thumping thrum. And I realized that there was no electricity in that. There was no technology. And that was what was making it boring for me. And I realized what we really need is a dubstep bow. We need electricity in the sound. We need an instance of Massive. So I messed around in Massive until I got this sound coming out of it, which, it's kind of dubstep inspired, I guess. And this has a lot more power and energy than the string plucks I was using earlier. It also plays with the periodicity of the bow string, still vibrating after you pluck it, and turns that concept into, more dubstep noise. I'll bring the level up on that component of the sound. Say it's that guy right there. The next layer in this sound is that, which kind of sounds like an arrow taking flight, but it also has a futuristic phaser component to it. And I actually processed that with 2 phasers in parallel, which gives it, you know, more of a laser noise than just one. Sorry, in series. And then I think this was originally performing. That's why I have 2 of these. I think I was sweeping that up to make it, to give it more of a, or sweeping it down to give it more of a. And then there's a vocoder, which gives it a little more brightness and laser quality. And then a compressor just to bring the level up. Next sound is the actual sound of the arrow in flight. And this is, the starting point for this sound was something else that I swiped from the game's sound libraries as long as I was digging around in there. And it's, it's the sniper zoom in sound? It's the zoom out sound. And I originally grabbed it because it sounded kind of electric. And I thought I could use it for the bow tip plugging in. But it ends up making, if you stretch out the end of it, a pretty cool arrow in flight kind of sound. So that's behind there too. And then we come to the second thing, which I think this new sound brings to the table, which is highlighting this component of the animation. You can see that the fletching flicks out of the arrow, and this thing flicks down and grabs the shaft of the arrow. So I put in some small mechanical noises to highlight that, which obviously the original sound did not accomplish at all. And altogether, once again, that sounds like this. Oh, I should also note that there's an outdoor reverb effect on this sound. Makes it sound like you're firing it in a canyon, and it gives a lot more psychoacoustic loudness to the noise, even though that isn't actually very loud. With the reverb behind there, it sounds like it's quite loud in the context of the outdoors, which is where it's going to be used. And the third and final sound which I designed was the bow drawing. And it has like this implied, another bit of the small mechanics sound in there to imply that it's technology assisted drawing somehow, coupled with this really tense kind of demi-metallic, or like, well, it's a synthetic sound, both in terms of how I created it and what it's supposed to sound like. And it sounds very tense. And I kind of inverse sidechained that with the firing noise to give it kind of the same quality. Although that doesn't really come through, the spectral characteristics do. And that makes it more consistent with the new firing sound, as opposed to. Right. Thanks for watching, and I hope you gained some insight into the creative process behind these sounds, and catch you next time.